Hello and welcome to InformNation, where knowledge is not information until it's shared. I'm your host, Aixa Rodriguez, and today in studio, we are happy to speak with Ms. Pat Small, CPA, who has a story that everybody needs to know when it comes to your property as a co-op owner, and she has a story to tell us about her American nightmare. So Pat, you have had a horrible experience, and you have so much to share with us and wisdom to give us. Tell us a little bit about what happened to you with your co-op.
Okay, I purchased my co-op in 1998. I purchased at the Riviera Towers. The Riviera Towers is a luxury building. It has over 423 units, so there's well over 600 shareholders, but they had less than 1% blacks in it. So it's like,
and where is the Riviera?
it's located in West New York, New Jersey.
In New Jersey, okay.
But it's called West New York because you see the city from your.
Oh, okay. But it's still New Jersey, but it's called West New York. Okay.
Yes. So what happened was everything was fine until the co-op board president died, and then we got a new co-op president.
How long had you been living there before this person passed away?
13 years.
So you've been in there for 13 years
Yeah,
without
no,
an incident.
Without an incident, never heard of anybody losing their apartment, nothing. So the new co-op board president, who was a part of the board, but he's an attorney. Next thing I know, I know that at one point I didn't pay. I was behind my money, but I caught up. And so, but in October of 2011, the building manager came to me and told me I need to pay rent to him, that I no longer own my apartment. I'm like,
what? How is that even possible?
Yeah, and who, what, and aren't you to help? I mean, that was really my reaction. If I didn't own my apartment, I just left my apartment. And I pay mortgage and maintenance, and I said, I don't pay rent, I pay maintenance. And why would I need to sit down and talk to you?
Yeah,
And I'm like, where's the court documents to give you this thing to come to me like that? So a month later, a couple weeks later, I get this whole thing saying there's a default judgment against me.
Was this a letter or
A court document.
A court document.
That there's a default judgment against me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I was never served. As a matter of fact, at this time, because I changed where I send my mail, I wasn't even getting maintenance statements for over close to 2 years.
So you changed your mail to a P.O. box?
Yeah, but I notified them. No, the P.O. box I had to go into, I changed that. Okay. And I notified them, but they never sent me maintenance statement, even though I notified the building manager who was being managed.
So you changed your address with the management, and they still hadn't sent you any maintenance
Right, and no
bills?
one really contacted me about you late with maintenance or anything of that nature. So I didn't get any late notices. And unlike what people would think, I live in a doorman building. I mean, I'm a concierge, so there's someone see you. It's not like they know you there. So that there's no way that would happen.
There should have been some way for them to hand deliver it to you.
There was an issue, but anything was already paid. So when he came up to me, I'm like, first of all, I knew something was wrong. When I'm like, you the help. How you gonna come to me and say I need to pay rent to you?
He shouldn't have been the first person of contact because of his position.
I used to do real estate management and property management, and we know that they have their attorneys. Like the property managers have their own attorney. It wasn't the
appropriate position
and they wouldn't get involved with a shareholder issue. So for him doing that, he's doing something smell. It's
something suspicious. Something was very suspicious.
So next thing you know, I'm in this court with this judge, Judge Circadian, and he's a Superior Court judge, and he said, well, I told them that I haven't gotten maintenance. How are they gonna bring me to court? Aren't they bring the cart before the horse? You know, you need to actually serve me, which is your due process right, the Fifth Amendment. And he said, oh, I'll tell you why don't you just speak to them on the side? I'm like, no, maybe they need to start all over again and actually serve me. And it got into a situation which they know, so they come up that I owed them $10,000.
So they generated this idea they owed $10,000, but you were...
In maintenance.
In maintenance only, but you had already paid up?
For the maintenance they were talking about. That was paid out in March of 2011.
So you had already caught up, so there was no really need for them to continue.
And so when I looked at the breakdown, $9,000 was just legal fees.
So they sue you, you already paid up, and then they charge you for the lawyers.
Right, and this is before I really understood the recognition agreement, that this the whole thing was bogus. And the
Could you
fact,
explain what a recognition agreement is for those who are watching?
when you buy a co-op, um, the reason the co-op board, like, people like to buy co-ops because the co-op is guaranteed to get the maintenance. So if you fall behind, you sign it, the co-op board signs it, and the bank sign it.
Oh, so in the recognition agreement,
they
the
all-
bank agrees to pay up your if you're in arrears, your
Right.
maintenance. Okay.
Right.
So
And
that would be a benefit of having a co-op. Okay.
Right, right. And the co-op board agrees that they would not sue you. They won't take you to court. They would contact the bank. If I fell behind, they would notify the bank. If
So there's steps. There's steps that you have to go through.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They would notify the bank if I fell more than 2 months behind in maintenance, and the bank would. And they could get the maintenance from the bank. So they don't need to speak to me at all about maintenance because they're under a contract. So the co-op is under contract. This lawsuit that they took me in, the co-op board never signed it, which makes it invalid.
So the board would be what, the main person of the board, the president of the board,
Well, no.
that would have had to sign it?
Well, most of the time it's the president of the board, who is the attorney in my case. So why
should have
would
known.
So why would this management be coming up to me? I'm like, and then I'm like, I said, if I had a problem paying maintenance, why would I be giving you $9,000 for legal fees? And then when I started to try to find a lawyer, they like, no. They said, no way, it would be $9,000. That means if you got default judge, that means nothing was done. So how did they say you owe them $9,000?
So default judgment means that nothing had been done.
Then
That's it.
Yeah,
But then they turned it around and made you pay $10,000.
They said that, and so I'm balking already.
Oh wow!
So I'm balking already, and I wrote up the judge because I'm like, first of all, if I owe $10,000, this court is for $15,000 higher. So how my case is in your court to start off with, which they call it forum shopping, that they went to a certain judge to give them, and so
give them an edge.
To edge.
So the amount that they end up choosing you is way below the threshold of the amount for the judge that his courtroom that you ended up in the first place.
Right. It's supposed to be another court, which is.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like, I know they try to start money from me. They try to rob me, and then I'm like, where? And who? And I'm like, why are you signing? I said, did your boss know? So while all this going on, I was speaking to someone I know who has a co-op, and he said, Pat, they're trying to steal your co-op. You like, because I said, why?
So there were people who were hearing this and seeing that there was a pattern and knew that they're trying to pull the co-op out from
they
underneath
trying to
it.
say
That's a nightmare. Oh my goodness.
They said they was calling it maintenance. They said no, they trying to steal your co-op. There's no such thing as maintenance. So I wrote everybody. I wrote the governor. I wrote his boss. I wrote Department of Justice. I wrote everybody, but no one would help. So as this case, it kept going, even though I owe no maintenance, nothing. I could show them bills.
So they continue this case with the express purpose of trying to eventually get the apartment from you.
Right.
Oh,
and then they fired the management company. You know, they got let go in March. So I'm thinking, well, the person who signed it was the building manager. And so how this case is still open when the court board didn't sign it and the building manager didn't sign it because
they fired the management company.
Right, and they just kept it going. I'm like, what the freak is going on here? So it goes on. So I put in a motion to dismiss based on lack of legal standing. Legal standing is that you can't take someone to court unless you have a right to take them to court. So therefore, the judge should dismiss the case. So I put it in July of 2012. So while I'm waiting for the judge to rule, I get this letter from the court attorney and tell me if I don't get, this is July 23rd, if I don't get out of my apartment by August 1st, if I don't turn off the key, they're going to break into my house, change my lock, and would never let me back in and consider me a defiant trespasser.
Wow,
And so this
seems like an escalation.
Well,
how long did this happen? Like, what was the time?
I put in a motion to dismiss the case July 3rd, 2012. They sent me this letter July 23rd, 2012.
Why the wait? It's almost the day of.
No, but this is the.
We have a week to respond.
But this is a call board. This is not the judge. Then the judge emailed me 2 days later and said he hasn't come to a decision whether to dismiss my case for lack of legal standing. So I'm all confused. I said, so obviously the court board is just doing whatever they want to do.
Not following anything from the
courts itself. And so this is July 26th. August 1st, what the guy said, so they broke into my house. There's no judgment or warrant or anything.
I need to hear a little bit more. So this breaking into your house seems like I want to hear exactly how that happened. So we'll talk more about that when the break comes.
Okay.
Because that's even more outrageous of a nightmare. Yeah. So we'll be back soon to hear more of Pat Small's story about her co-op being stolen from underneath her.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
What's he
Hey,
doing
it's
here?
Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
No, you
me to
said,
make it big.
no, you said make it bigger, baby. The bigger, the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Mom, I got it.
What are you doing in there?
What's that? Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you looking for?
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
(145/92).
180/111.
182/100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest, and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
A lot of people don't understand, including myself. I didn't, now I do, the impact of having a stroke.
My memory is shot.
When I woke up, I couldn't speak.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
It's a tough journey.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
It's a new life, but I'm gonna make it better. Coming back. Ask your doctor, check your blood pressure.
Touchdown! Did you see that? Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs.
Hello and welcome back to InformNation, where knowledge is not information until it's shared. I'm your host, Aixa Rodriguez. Today we're continuing with our guest, Miss Pat Small, CPA, who is telling us a story about how her co-op was taken from her under a nightmarish situation and giving us advice about what's happening. So Pat, you just mentioned that you received these documents from the co-op board itself.
An attorney.
An attorney from the co-op board that was saying something to the effect of that you need to vacate the premises and they would take over the apartment?
They said, if I don't, because I didn't pay because the amount they said I owe was $8,133.50. They said that I didn't pay it on time, that that if I don't turn over my apartment within, I guess, 8 days, the 23rd to August 1st, they're gonna break into my house, take over my apartment, change my locks, and consider me a defiant trespasser.
So this is a legal label, defiant trespasser and breaking into your apartment and taking your property.
That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. That's a violation of the Jersey Constitution. That's a violation of it's considered a felony. What they would say they were going to do.
Because they stole it. It's just, yeah, wow.
And since they told me in advance that what they're going to do, that's conspiracy. There's a lot of different issues with this. And but because we know we have the Bill of Rights. And this was passed in 1787, I believe, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Because your home, you're supposed to be able to feel secure in your home and everything. And I totally freaked out. Because what I
would get a letter like that. I would be beside myself.
Well, I ignored their letter. Because I'm like, you must be on crack. That's what I'm thinking. How you going to break into my house when I put in a motion to dismiss the case? The case is still going on. The court board didn't sign it. The management company quit. That I don't even owe you this money. So how are you going to sit and write me this type of letter, which
goes against all the other processes that you had in motion as well? Yeah.
Right, and plus it's not even true. You know that by the way, when you own a co-op, which is just like a house, you have to be foreclosed on.
So you didn't even go through the process of foreclosure?
No, my mortgage was current. The bank would pay your maintenance, and as long as your mortgage is current, then you have to go through foreclosure. That's the right that everyone has.
So they seem to have skipped a whole bunch of other pieces. What happened next?
What happened next is that I'm still in shock, first of all. What happened next, when I got home, because I worked late as a CPA, running my own business, I got home at 1 in the morning. And the concierge told me that they told him to tell me I cannot go to my apartment. I'm like, oh, really? And I'm like, I can't do what? I said, you got papers? And he goes, no. But the cops, everyone came earlier, and they had a discussion, and he said, well, so I called the cops. I called the West New York Police. I called the West New York Police. They came with some document, the default judgment. I said, and said, this is a civil matter. I'm like, they broke into my house. How is it a civil matter if they broke into my house? And he said, well, we can't stop you from going upstairs. And of course, I found out later, the West New York Police was supposed to call the building manager, which he did, and the building manager said in a police report, which I have, which is on my website, stealingyourhome.com, it says that, yes, we changed the locks to keep her out of her home. So West New York said, you could go up to your apartment. So I go up to my apartment, and the locks will change.
Wow.
So that's breaking and entering. And the locks will change. And I come like that, and he said, and they said, oh, we know this changed. He said, find somebody. I said, 1 in the morning. And plus, since I don't drive to work, my car keys and everything is in my apartment. So he said, you have to find someplace else to live. So they basically gave my house, my home, with all my belongings to criminals. And they're the West New York Police. And long story short, I go in front of Hector Velenguez, who is the chancery judge. I didn't even know what a chancery judge was, which is a person who handled foreclosures and all those different things. And apparently he had a relationship with the building and the attorney. And he started speaking to him off record for 2 hours. And he comes back and said, this is no longer your apartment. You the former owner. That this is in writing too, so it's not something it's for you're the former owner.
But you didn't go through the process of foreclosure. None of these things were.
The other case is still open too. The one I'm waiting for I forgot this. I called the judge. The judge said
like
what?
Strong arming.
No. The judge said what? And he automatically he's supposed to rule on my motion to dismiss, and he ruled on August 1st and back in and say, but then I still have a right to appeal his ruling, put in another motion, which I did, because I put in I kept putting in more motions through January to make sure they don't put in a fake warrant, a fake judgment, and then so Hector Velenguez on August 14th, he told me, complain all you want, you will see nothing's going to happen. I didn't know they were going to just keep my home, and he gave me 6 hours to get some of my stuff.
What? This is egregious. It's egregious.
Right. Not 6 consecutive hours either. He gave me from 9 to 12 for one day, 9 to 12. And I have over
That's
1,000 square.
impossible. That's impossible.
It's
to
in
do.
writing. It's very hard to
God.
believe.
Oh my God.
It's in writing. And then he put a guard outside my door. Meanwhile, the mortgage company still asked me for the mortgage payment. Meanwhile, everything really, because I found out, even though they say you got evicted, everything was still in my name. You know.
So everything was still in your name. We're still being charged for maintenance and charged for mortgage,
Right.
while at the same time they're trying to snatch this apartment from
Well, they
underneath
barred
you.
me from entering.
They bar you from entering, had your property. Judges, everybody seems to have a very interesting relationship.
Yeah, I called
very
the
conspiratorial.
I called the Department of Justice.
Allegedly, I guess.
Well, Department of Justice, and in writing, she tells me it's not a civil matter. Civil rights matter. I was like, they broke into my house. I'm homeless. Without my home and belongings. And I called the U.S. Department of Justice, the one that's located in Newark, in writing. She said, oh, this is not a civil rights matter.
Then what could it be? I don't understand. It's a property matter? What? That's terrible.
No, how somebody, this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. There's no ifs, buts about it. And then I went to a couple of other appellate judges, you know, trying to get my house. I've been fighting, literally fighting these judges.
How long has it been that you've been fighting this?
7 years.
7 years. And where are we now? What's the situation now?
Oh, what the situation now is that I move on to, I couldn't get any attorney to help me. Oh, I forgot the other thing.
Okay.
I forgot.
So you struggled with getting an attorney to help you.
So I wrote my own lawsuit.
So you wrote your own lawsuit and you filed it yourself?
I filed it myself with the Federal Court on Civil Rights Violation because I was the only single black female shareholder.
Which is another very important point. So do you feel as if there's a pattern there of
I think
them targeting? Is there any way for you to be able to prove a target of people of color, women of color?
Well, a couple of people count. How could I prove? I think the fact that they've been fighting me so hard that I've been in district court for 7 years. I had not yet had due process, which is when you own a property, you have a right to due process, and that's Fifth Amendment right. And these judges have been violating my rights. And right now, I'm at the U.S. Supreme Court, the one in D.C., fighting I can't, because I couldn't get the West New York, the Hudson prosecutors, the Jersey Attorney General, or the U.S. Department of Justice to help me. So I couldn't file. They didn't want them to file criminal cases. And the West New York police even told me, I'm not going to let you hurt those nice people.
What?
Because I wanted to file a burglary complaint. I'm like, those nice people who broke into my house, who lied about everything, and I'm saying pay taxes, you know, and you got.
So you're not being treated as a citizen in any way, shape, or form.
Right, and
not being represented, not being supported, not being protected, not going through the process, not following your due process, not following your Bill of Rights or your rights for unreasonable search and seizure.
And the U.S. District Court, the federal level, the judges were dismissing my case, wouldn't even allow me to ask questions. Like your attorney to say, why did you kick me out? Where's your proof? Where's your warrant? How did I lose my apartment? And while this was going on, my mortgage company was following me late on my mortgage.
My God.
They did it.
Well, fast forward a bit. Okay, now we have the mortgage people still think you owe for that apartment, which was stolen from you. And so where are we now?
They know it's stolen, but they kept up with that. They were helping them in court, boy, because I sued them. I sued all of them. Because every time I went into court, the judges would would dismiss my case, wouldn't even let me question. So you can sue judges if they deprive you of your rights. They call a civil rights violation, 187.
And so where are we now? So you have had all these different things happen to you.
So right now, I put in an appeal to the Third Circuit Court of Appeal, and then they denied my appeal because they don't want me to have due process, and said that there's a judgment against me for $8,133.50, and people could break into my house without a warrant.
How is that even possible?
I'm beyond understanding. So right now I'm set to go to the U.S. Supreme Court in D.C.
And when is that going to happen?
Well, I'm gonna file my petition of Centurion, something like that, how they call it, and in March of this year. But for what I understand, that they really researched the case. Like, this is no longer in this group setting where, because the whole thing is, where's the warrant? This is something.
Where's the warrant? Where's the foreclosure? Where's all the thing? I mean, it seems like this is definitely conspiratorial.
Right, and also that my mortgage company, I called them once they broke in because of the recognition agreement. They were supposed to force a co-op to give back the apartment. Instead of that, and they refused to pay me. I stopped paying my mortgage once they broke into my house.
Oh, good Lord.
Let me finish.
Good, that's horrible.
I stopped paying my mortgage, so I'm waiting for them to put me into foreclosure. Because if you don't pay your mortgage 2 or 3 times, you're supposed to go
then you're supposed to go through that's supposed to trigger that process.
Right, but they refused to do it because because my mortgage was backed by Fannie Mae. They refused to do it because they would trigger that process because they're gonna say why she's not living in her house.
Could be.
Yeah, because of Obama law, he passed it that they can't kick you out until you go through the whole process, which takes almost nearly 3 years. So how are these people with no mortgage and they
Seems like a lot of controversy. This is not okay.
But it's a group that's what disturbs me. I mean, all these people who are it disturbs as a group. So it tells me, from my CPA background and understanding, that they've been doing this for a long time. And so, by them separating, you can't get a lawyer.
I'm hearing that you've already this pattern. You're saying that the pattern exists.
Oh yeah. They have to. Why would you think the judge would let you keep somebody's house without a warrant?
There's definitely something to be looked into when it comes to housing justice for that definitely. So to sum up, if you were going to give advice to people who are going to buy a co-op, what's the most important thing that they need to know? You obviously have learned a lot about your rights and are really now an advocate. What would you tell people they must know to protect themselves against this type of theft?
Well, this type of theft should never happen because, but as far as the co-op goes, I think it's important when it first happened because I didn't really attend a co-op meetings.
So attend the meetings, be involved.
And when this happened, make sure all the shareholders are aware of what's going on. And
inform shareholders about the situation so that they can.
Right. So that's one thing. The other thing is not to trust. Because you assume the cops are telling you the right thing, but they were lying. You need a warrant to enter someone's house, and they tell you they get paid.
Not to trust, but to verify, definitely.
Well, the judge was lying too. The judges in my case, all the way to Third Circuit Court, is saying they didn't need a warrant. And so I'm glad I'm going to the Supreme Court because I'm going to say I should be paying my taxes to you if you're not doing your job. The judges.
So the advice you would have for definitely to know and follow up who is in charge of who had relationships with people.
Right.
Like how could people use your story to protect themselves?
Because I think for me, the most shocking thing, I expected my core board to be honest and to follow the rules. Why would you sit there and break into someone's house? First of all, you're putting the whole co-op in liability. When I'm suing the co-op board and the people on the board.
And other people need to be very smart consumers and join the board. Come to a meeting.
Or you're on the board, realize that you just can't be on the board and not know what's going on because I'm suing you for money.
Share information and be aware of what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing the story. I'm in the middle of buying my own co-op, but I'm listening to you because I need to know how to protect myself. So thank you so much for coming and sharing this story with us.
Problem.
Okay, lovely meeting you. Thank you for your advocacy, and I wish you excellent results. Thank you. And thank you for watching InformNation, where knowledge is not information until it's shared. And hopefully you've gotten some insights on how you can protect yourself as a consumer when it comes to real estate dealings with co-ops. Next time. See you later.